Simona County Court of Common Pleas is again in session. Honorable Christine Crouch, presiding.
Thank you. You may be seated. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for the delay. There was an issue that arose on the break, and we're going to pause Detective Hall's testimony. She'll be called back and be subject to cross-examination, but in an effort to move this along and not sit around and wait idly, since we only have a half day today, we are going to move on to the next witness, and then we'll bring her back and we'll complete her testimony. All right? So, if you would raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead and have a seat, and then once you're settled, you may remove your mask, please. And then, Mr. D'Angelo, you may proceed.
Thank you very much. Sir, can you please state your full name, spell your last name for the record, please?
My name is Ellis Polk, P-O-L-K.
Are you currently employed?
No, I'm retired from the Akron Fire Department.
All right. And how long are you a fireman?
Yes, I was.
How long were you a fireman?
26 years.
Yeah, all with the Akron Fire Department?
Yes.
And Mr. Polk, can you tell the jury what division of the Akron Fire Department you were assigned to when you retired?
Fire Investigation Unit.
And so are you an Akron Fire Department investigator, or were you?
Yes.
How long did you do that?
9 years.
And were you assigned to other divisions of the Akron Fire Department?
Yes, normal firefighter / paramedic, and then 2007 I went to the Fire Investigation Unit.
Okay. And when you went to that Fire Investigation Unit in 2007, can you tell the jury, did you undergo any specialized training that enabled you to become an Akron Fire Department investigator?
Yes, went to Bowling Green University for Arson 1 in the year 2008, and also in 2009 went back for Arson 2. Then later that year I went to the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Virginia, in Maryland.
What's Arson 1, Arson 2? What are those? I'm assuming they're classes or courses that you take?
Yes, it's classes that you take to show you the dynamics of how fires start and how to detect where they start and what caused the fire.
So the cause, origin of where a fire is, those classes teach you?
Correct.
Okay. Now, Investigator Polk, how long were you an investigator for?
9 years.
How many fires did you investigate?
Throughout my years, probably somewhere in a couple hundreds.
All right. Are you just investigating arsons, or are you investigating every fire that comes into the Akron Fire Department?
On my shift, all the fires that come in.
Okay. What do your duties entail, specifically as a fire investigator for the Akron Fire Department?
To respond with the fire companies when the call goes out of a fire, and then determine the origin and cause of that fire, and if there's a criminal activity, to try to make an arrest on a person who started the fire.
Okay. Do you work with other agencies when there's a criminal activity involved?
Yes, at times we call in the state fire marshal.
Do you ever work with the Akron Police Department?
I had not at that time.
Okay. Would you work with the Akron Police Department if you were getting close to arresting a subject?
Yes.
Could you arrest somebody as a fireman?
Yes, I had police capabilities as well. I went through the police academy.
Okay, so you're a policeman and a fireman.
Correct.
All right. Now, Investigator Polk, I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th of 2016. Do you recall that date?
Yes, I do.
Were you working as an investigator for the Akron Fire Department at that time?
Yes.
And when was it that you actually retired?
Official date was June 5th, 2016.
Okay, so shortly after this fire, you then retired.
Correct.
All right. Now, Investigator Polk, did you have a chance to respond to a fire located at 719 Fultz Avenue in the city of Akron on that date?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the jury what the circumstances were of that fire when you arrived, what you saw?
I went up East Avenue, and as I pressed the top of the hill, I saw a large orange glow, which was approximately a block and a half away, was Fultz Avenue. I turned onto Fultz Avenue, A lot of fire companies was down there, so I had to park near the corner of Fultz and East Avenue.
And what was the time of day? I mean, was it light, dark?
It was dark.
It was dark, okay. And you said there was a lot of fire personnel there?
Correct.
Were the police there?
I believe so.
You had to park at the end of Fultz, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm here, Stacy exhibit number 12. What's that? Oh, okay.
It's on.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Polk, you see this, Stacy exhibit number 12, this poster board here?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please point to the jury, or show the jury where you parked?
I parked in this area right here.
Okay. At the corner of East and Fultz.
Correct.
So, although it was dark out, there was a lot of light in the neighborhood, fair?
That's fair.
What was that coming from?
Lights were coming from the fire from the house as well as the fire engines and different apparatus.
Okay. Yeah, Investigator Polk, did you know the residents of 719 Fultz?
Did I know them before?
Yes.
No, wasn't aware who was there
Okay, at that time when you arrived.
when I arrived, yes.
But did you know Lindell Lewis and Gloria Hart personally outside of this fire?
I knew of Lindell Lewis only.
Okay. How did you know him?
Just friends from school and the neighborhood
How long have you lived in Akron?
all my life.
Okay. And so you've known him since you were in, what, grade school, high school?
Grade school.
So a long time.
Yes.
How close of friends were you with him?
Not extremely close, just knew him from school, and my brothers and his brothers also approximately the same age, and they went to school as well.
Okay. Did you consider them even friends or just acquaintances, Mr. Lewis?
I considered him a friend.
Would you go out to dinner with him or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Now, Investigator Polk, when you arrived on scene initially, did you know that that was Lindell Lewis's house even?
No, I did not.
And after you arrived on scene, tell the jury what was the first thing that you did.
I walked down from the corner, and the house right there, I believe, was Mr. Costa's house. He was standing out in the front yard, and I spoke with him first.
Okay. I'm showing you on this document camera here, Investigator Polk,
So that's going to be on your right. Yep, there you go.
a photograph that's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 32. Do you recognize the person in this photograph?
Yes, that's Mr. Costa.
Okay. You spoke with Mr. Costa.
Correct.
Did you, without telling us what he said, what generally did you talk to him about?
Did he know what happened at the fire?
Okay. Did he know who the people were at the house next door?
Yes.
And did he tell you who they were?
No, he didn't tell me. He just said he didn't believe they was out of the house.
Okay. Now, that night, did you speak with anyone else?
Yes, I spoke with a person living in the basement of the house, Thomas Hughley.
Right. Showing you a photograph on the document camera that's marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 24. Can you tell the jury who this man is?
Thomas Hughley.
When you spoke with Mr. Hughley, can you describe his demeanor to the jury?
He seemed to be a little upset, maybe shaken, to the point when I first started talking with him.
And when you started talking with him, did he describe to you an event that had just occurred or was occurring?
Yes, he told me he was in the basement watching reruns of a basketball game. He heard a boom. He got up. He thought Lindell had fallen again, and he had often went up to help pick him up. When he got to the steps, he noticed a glow. He went up the first set of stairs, saw that there was fire, and he went out.
Okay. Now, did he describe to you Lindell's physical condition?
He told me he had some kind of hip injury and it had recently had surgery.
And was this the first time at that point that you learned that Lindell Lewis was involved?
That's correct.
Okay. Did he indicate anybody else was inside of the house?
He told me a female by the name of Jeannie. He wasn't aware of her last name.
Okay. Okay. After you spoke with Mr. Kugley, what did you do, Mr. Polk?
I went back over and talked to Mr. Costa because I only spoke with him a short time. And I went back to talk with him and get more information that he had possibly would have of the fire.
Okay. And during your conversation with Mr. Costa, did you speak with him about his knowledge of the dynamics of the neighborhood?
Yes, I spoke with him and he said that.
You don't have to tell us what he said, but you did talk to him about that.
Correct.
Specifically, without telling us what he said, did you speak with him about Mr. Lewis's relationship with the defendant, Stanley Ford?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Costa, or excuse me, Mr. Polk, after you spoke with Nicholas Costa, can you tell the jury what you did next, where you went next?
I went back over and talked with Thomas again.
Okay. At some point, did you go inside of 719 Fultz?
Yes, I did.
And when you went inside, did you take photographs?
Yes.
Mr. Polk, I'm going to show you a slideshow presentation that has previously been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 37. 37. Thanks. Mr. Polk, can you see the side over here of these photographs?
Yes.
Okay. And as I'm scrolling down, do you generally recognize these photographs?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what these are?
Those are the photographs from the fire at 719 Fultz.
On April 18th of 2016?
That's correct.
Do these photographs fairly and accurately represent the scene as you saw it on April 18th of 2016?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask to publish State's Exhibit number 37 to the jury.
You may.
Okay. Investigator Polk, we're looking at slide B here of State's Exhibit number 37. Tell the jury what this is.
That is the street address of Hillcrest and Fultz.
Okay. What are we looking at here in slide D of State's Exhibit 37?
You're looking at the front and the left side of 719 Fultz.
Slide E.
Hold on one second, because here's what's going on.
Oh, we're blocking
Yeah.
that TV.
Yeah, so we're going to move this. So you move that and I'll scoot the TV.
Joe, do you want this back over there? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. You can take that down.
Got it? For jurors 1, 2, and 3? Yes? Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
All right, so would you just go back to slide 8, please? Because I don't think they had the opportunity to see it on the big screen.
Slide A.
Yeah.
All right. We're at slide A.
Well, I guess we can.
That's okay. Mr. Polk, this is slide A is just an introductory slide. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. Slide B, you had previously testified that this was a street sign.
Correct.
Okay. All right, slide D was what you were just describing. Can you just do that again for us, please?
The front and left side of 719 Fultz.
What type of house was this?
2.5 story wood frame with aluminum siding.
Okay. Slide E, can you tell us about this photograph?
Same, just a different angle.
Okay.
of 719 volts.
And slide F,
That's the front,
just a different angle.
just a different angle.
Slide G,
Also the front, different angle.
and slide H.
The front, where the front door was, and
So this area here that I'm pointing to, or that is on slide H, is the front door of the residence.
correct,
And that would be on the right or left side
the right side
as you're facing it.
as you face the house.
Okay? Another photograph, slide I.
That's correct, of the 719 volts.
Tell us about slide J.
That is the right side of 719 volts and the front side,
As you're facing it, it would be the right side.
correct.
And slide K.
That's the right side of 719 volts.
In slide K, we do see a ladder going up to a window there. Can you tell the jury where that ladder leads to?
Bathroom of 719.
Where were Mr. Lewis and Miss Hart found?
They was lying on the floor by the bathtub in the bathroom.
Okay. Slide L, can you tell the jury what this slide shows in State's Exhibit 37?
That is the back side and the right side of 719 volts.
And slide M.
That is the side door entranceway.
Okay. So we previously saw this slide, or that doorway right there in slide K. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So slide M is just a closer of that.
Yes.
Slide N, can you tell us about this photograph?
That is the kitchen when you come in from the side door.
Slide O, can you tell us about this one?
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that looks to be the dining room, living room area.
You may. Angela.
You can see slide O there, Mr. Polk.
Yes.
And tell the jury what this photograph shows. What is this?
I think that's the dining room area.
Okay. And you can actually, if you look through this picture, what do you see on the other side?
Another house.
The other house.
Yes,
So as you're facing the house, that would be the house to the left. Is that fair?
correct.
I think you said Mr. Costa.
Mr. Costa's house.
Slide P, can you tell us about this photograph? Where is this?
That's the living room area of 719 volts.
Slide Q.
Same living room area,
Okay.
different angle or larger angle.
Do you see this item here on slide Q, Mr. Polk, that has wheels on it?
Appears to be some type of walker.
Walker.
Yes,
Slide R, can you tell us about this photograph?
that's the stairways to the second floor.
All right. And slide S, can you tell us about this photograph?
That is the bathroom with Lindell and Gloria lying on the floor.
Okay. And Investigator Polk, do you know when they were discovered, was the door to the bathroom open or closed?
When they was discovered, I don't know.
Okay. When you went in there, was it open or
It
closed?
was open.
Okay. have you investigated fires before, Investigator Polk, in your training and experience where folks have perished in the fire?
Yes, I have.
And how common is it that someone would go into the bathroom of a residence that's on fire?
Quite common that they would go in.
Tell the jury, if you know, why that happens.
I believe it happens because they have a sense of getting in the bathtub and putting water around them to keep the fire from getting to them.
Okay. Now, we had seen previously there was a ladder going up to the second floor of this bathroom. Is that correct in the prior slides? I want to talk a little bit about that window. Is it common for people to open a window?
Yes,
And is that a good or bad idea?
it's good sometimes for them to try to jump out, and sometimes it's bad because of smoke or fire and everything comes in, and it also helps speed the fire up.
How does that happen? Why does that happen?
Because when air comes in, and if you don't have that doorway closed, it's going to feed the fire, or if you don't have some tiles or a rug under the bottom of it, the air is going to flow through and also feed the fire.
Investigator Polk, they have some white stuff on their hands and their arms and around their mouth. Do you know what that is?
No, I do not.
Okay, so you don't know what that is at all?
No.
Okay. Do you know why he, when I'm referring to he, Mr. Lewis, has a towel wrapped around his arm?
No, I don't know why.
Did you examine the bodies at all or look at them?
I looked at them, yes.
Did they have any burns on them?
No, they did not.
Investigator Polk, can you tell us about slide T of State's Exhibit 37?
Just a close-up of Lindell and Gloria.
Good. And slide U, can you tell us about this photo?
It's just a different angle, and also you can see the window where they was at trying to get attention, yelling for help. Also, the firemen had put lights and a fan to take the smoke debris out.
So there's lights and fans in this bathroom at this time.
Correct.
Investigator Polk, these cords coming in and out of the window, what are those if you know, and what are they related to?
Those are the extension cords that they plug their lights and fans into.
The fire department does?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, after you went inside and looked at the scene, Investigator Polk, did you call another agency for assistance to investigate the fire?
Yes, the Ohio State Fire Marshal.
And can you tell the jury why it was you called the Ohio State Fire Marshal to the scene?
Because with APD and myself, we saw that there was a video across the street, and we saw an individual who had put accelerant on their house to start it, and also we wanted their help to investigate that, as well as they had a dog sniffer that would detect accelerant.
Dog sniffer, are you talking about a canine?
Yes.
Investigator Polk, so you noticed that there were cameras coming from what residence?
714, I believe it was.
714 Fultz.
Fultz.
Okay. And you saw someone, when you watched those cameras, coming from that residence?
Correct.
So you wanted the Ohio State Fire Marshal to come assist, fair?
That's fair.
Now, did you later learn that there was a video system on 719 Fultz?
Yes.
Were you able to view that video system that night?
No.
Okay. Do you know who the owner of 714 Fultz was?
I don't recall his first name, but I think his last name was Williams.
Okay. After you went to Mr. Williams' house and spoke with him, while you were speaking with him, without telling us what he said, did you talk to him?
Yes, I did.
Did you talk to him about the nature of the relationship between the defendant and the victim in this case, Lindell Lewis. Without telling us what he said, did you talk to him about those things?
Yes.
Now, during the course of your investigation, did you speak with family members of Lindell Lewis?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us when you spoke with them?
A few days later, I was able to get to talk to different family members.
Did you know some of them personally?
Yes.
Did you know a Geraldine Lewis?
Yes.
And who is that?
That is Lindell's sister.
Was she at the scene of the fire that night?
She showed up a few hours after the fire.
Okay. Do you know the names of the other family members that you spoke of during the course of your investigation, not just that night?
Yes, I spoke with Willie Lewis, Greg Lewis, and Alfreda Lewis.
Okay. And did you speak with them about their knowledge of Mr. Lewis's relationship with the defendant? Without telling us exactly what they said, did you speak with them?
Yes, I did.
And Investigator Polk, would you agree with me that they knew varying degrees of knowledge about that relationship or what was going on? Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. Investigator Polk, did you speak with, back to the night of April 18th of 2016, a lady by the name of Tiffany Gary?
Yes.
Okay. And who was she?
She was a bystander standing out when I was there investigating, filming it with her phone.
Okay. So she was out there. Did she show you that?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Now, Investigator Polk, after you spoke with these individuals, Mr. Costa, Mr. Williams, the family members, Tiffany Gary, who did you decide to speak with next?
I'm not sure who I spoke with next.
Okay.
It's in my report.
All right. Eventually, did you speak with the defendant in this case?
Not that night. No.
Okay. Not on April 18th of 2016.
Correct.
Did you speak with him eventually?
Yes, I did.
And when was that? Can you tell the jury when that was?
Approximately a week after I was able to speak with them.
Okay. And can you tell the jury, was that based on the conversations you had had with all of these individuals?
Yes.
Do you know where the defendant lived?
Yes, he lived in the corner, I think it's 1370 Hillcrest, the corner of Oaks and Hillcrest.
All right. Showing you State's Exhibit number 12. That's the place. Can you see that, sir?
Yes.
All right. And with your green pointer, 1370 Hillcrest there at the corner of Hillcrest and Fields. Fair?
Correct.
When you went there, did you go there with anybody else?
No, I did not.
So you went there by yourself.
Yes.
Did you record your conversation with him?
No, I did not record it.
Okay. And where did you physically speak with him at?
I was at this side, his side door right. I think this is the front door, and the side door is like right there.
Prior to this encounter with him and speaking with him, had you met him before?
No, I had not.
Did you know him?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what it was that you spoke with him about and what he told you?
I was just asking about, did he have any knowledge to the fire, or Lindell, what was going on with him and Lindell?
Okay, so you specifically asked him about what was going on between him and Lindell.
Correct.
And what happened that night of the fire.
Correct.
What did the defendant tell you?
Can't recall every word, but I believe it's in my report. I know one of them, he said that he was a vicious guy.
And when you're saying he said he was a vicious guy, can you just say the name so we know who you're referring to?
Yes. Stanley said that Lindell was a vicious guy, that he had people hanging out on his porch with him, making fun of people come by, verbally attacking him, and prostitutes, I think, was hanging out there.
Okay. And you said specifically that you documented his statement to you in your report,
That's correct.
and you don't remember every word that he's told you, but you documented it in your report?
Yes.
Would it help refresh your recollection as to what the defendant told you if you had a chance to see your report?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Mr. Polk, I'm showing you, is this your report here that I'm showing you?
Yes, it is.
All right, and I'm going to direct your attention to page 8. Can you please take a minute, read that to yourself. Let me know when you're finished, okay, sir?
Okay. I'm finished.
Okay, Mr. Polk, did this help refresh your recollection as to what the defendant told you?
Yes.
Okay, and you had indicated previously that he said that Lindell was a vicious guy?
Yes.
All right, and that when people would walk by their house, people would verbally attack him, or they would verbally attack the people as they walked by the house.
That's correct.
What did the defendant tell you about Thomas Hughley?
He used drugs, and that they was drug user, and he believed that Thomas had broken his house.
Broke into his house?
Correct.
Okay. What did the defendant say about his willingness to hang out with this crowd that was hanging out at 719 Flats?
He said that he was into being in physical shape, and he did not believe in drinking and doing alcohol and drugs and stuff.
Okay. Investigator Polk, in your report specifically in regards to Mr. Hughley, you didn't address that in your report. Is that fair?
I did address what?
What the defendant told you about Mr. Hughley.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I did
Okay.
address that or not.
Now, Investigator Polk, do you see the man that you spoke to on April 26th of 2018 in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay. The man that made those statements to you that you just told the jury about?
Correct.
Can you please point to him, describe what he's wearing for the record, please?
Last chair, got on black and white shirt.
Okay.
Seemed to be black and white pants, I believe.
If I could have 1 minute here. I don't have any other questions, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman.
Thank you, Judge. I'm just going to move this to you.
Yeah, I will, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Morning, sir.
Morning. Morning.
My name is Joseph Gorman. This is Scott Riley. Together we represent Mr. Ford. And I have some questions for you this morning. If you don't understand my question, please ask me to rephrase it or repeat it so you do understand before you answer. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. And you recall, sir, that you came in approximately 16 or 17 months ago and testified from that witness chair under oath as well in regard to another proceeding in this matter. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And I don't know if you recall, I actually was the person that was questioning you on that day as well. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. We have a copy of that transcript from what you testified to back then. And if you need it, if I ask you a question about what you said back then, and you want to review it before answering, if you ask me, I will provide it to you. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. And you created a report of investigation in this case, correct?
Correct.
In fact, I think the prosecutor used your report to refresh your memory just now. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And you said, sir, you were also a police officer. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So you went through Police Officer Academy as well?
Correct.
Okay. And you learned in creating a report both as a fireman and as a police officer and fire investigator and a police officer to put the important things in your report, correct?
Yes.
All right. So you also learn when you take a statement from a witness, you have different options. You could bring them down to the station, so to speak, and create an audio and a video recording of your questioning of the person, correct?
Correct.
You could bring a small recorder with you and you can ask them, or not ask them, but you could record the conversation with them, correct?
Correct.
Or you can rely on your notes that you would take to create a report, correct?
Correct.
The first two options in this case, as far as Mr. Ford's statement is concerned, you chose not to do, correct?
Correct.
You went to his house, knocked on his door, said, I wanted to speak to you, and you wanted him to speak to you about what happened with that fire, what his knowledge of was it, correct?
Correct.
That's fair?
That's fair.
All right. He denied having anything to do with the fire, correct?
Correct.
He said, I didn't start that fire, but I think, you said, he said, but I think that Lindell is not a nice guy. I think you used the word vicious. Is that fair?
That's fair.
And he told you about some things about Lindell staying on the porch and taunting people as they went by. He was giving you some examples about why he thought that about Lindell, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to approach, if the court would allow, with your report of investigation. I'm going to approach you, sir, with your report of investigation. Ask if you would take a look at it and let me know if you looked at it, if that's the report you created concerning your investigation in regard to this case.
Yes, it is.
Okay. If you go to, I believe page, it's either 5 or 8. Try 8. I might be wrong. It might be 5. I think it is 8.
Okay.
Page 8 is where you record what your conversation was with Mr. Ford, correct?
Yes.
That report, sir, would have been created, I'm assuming, back in April of 2016. Is that fair?
That's fair.
That would have been very close to the time in question, close to the fire, correct?
Correct.
Certainly, it would have been very close in time to the time you had the opportunity to interview Mr. Ford, correct?
Correct.
And in your report, you say nothing about Mr. Ford telling you that Mr. Hughley broke into his house, do you?
No.
That information never came out of Mr. Ford's mouth, correct?
I can't prove that it did. It's not in my report.
You did, in 2020, sit in that witness chair and testify to the same thing you testified to today, did you not?
Yes.
All right. And did you review that transcript prior to coming in to testify today?
Yes, I did.
So you saw what you told the court back in 2020, correct?
Correct.
As it relates to the DVR that you found in Mr. Lindell Lewis's home at 719 Fultz, that DVR was eventually turned over to the fire marshal in Columbus. Am I right in saying that?
Yes.
And that was turned over, sir, for purposes of trying to enhance the video. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. And when did you retire?
June of 2016.
Okay. In the videos that were turned over for the purposes of enhancement with the fire marshal, as far as you know, I don't want you, if you don't know, you don't know, but I know you, when you left in June of 2016?
Correct.
All right, so you left shortly thereafter into retirement, fair?
Fair.
You would agree with me the investigation continued.
Correct.
All right. But as far as you knew, the video from Lindell Lewis's house, the DVR that was recovered in the fire scene, that was sent for purposes of trying to enhance it, correct?
Correct.
Because you're trying to identify who it is that's in the video. Is that fair?
That's fair.
And to your knowledge, were any other videos, if you recall, sent down to the fire marshal for purposes of enhancement along with that video? You can refer to your report if you'd like.
The first video we got was retrieved. It was just a regular DVD, but it wasn't a recording from his security system. And Brian Peterman, who came and took the DVD down to the state fire marshal to get enhanced, told me that that was not a DVD of the security system. And I re-entered the house and found the security system DVD.
All right. When you say DVD, I'm thinking DVR. Are you referring to the DVR?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of like the hard drive?
Correct.
All right. So when we talk about that, we're not talking about a DVD tape. We're talking about the DVR where it would actually record what's being videotaped. Is that fair?
No, I think it was a
All right.
DVD that was on, along with the, I'm not sure what type of system he had, but it was a DVD within his recording system.
Okay. And is that the same thing that was ultimately sent down then to the fire marshal that actually depicted the fire being started?
Yes. No, that was, the one that fire being started was across the street from Mr. Williams' house.
Okay.
And take that back, both of them showed an individual trying to start the fire. Both DVDs showed an individual trying to start the fire.
Okay. And that came from Mr. Williams' home, his system, correct?
One from, which one are you talking about?
The one where we can see a gentleman, or it appears to be a gentleman, it could be a person, on video squirting the side of the house.
One was from Mr. Williams and one was from Lindell Lewis' house.
Okay. The one that depicts that actual squirting on the house came from Mr. Lindell
Correct.
Lewis's house, correct?
Correct.
All right. That was sent down to the fire marshal for purposes of trying to enhance the video.
That's correct.
And they also sent down to the fire marshal, if I understand you correctly, was from Chester Williams' house, from his porch, there were videos, grainy videos, that were also sent down to try and be enhanced?
I believe so.
Okay. Sir, that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you for answering mine.
Angela, you address? Mr. Polk, you may step down. Thank you very much. Mr. There you go. And you can just replace your mask, Mr. Polk, and you're excused. Thank you. Yeah,
I
just,
believe this hall is outside.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Polk. All right, Detective Hall, you may take the stand. I'll remind you that you're under oath. And then once you're seated, if you'll remove your mask. And then Mr. Riley, you may proceed with Detective Hall's cross-examination.
All right. Good afternoon, Detective Hall.
Good afternoon.
All right, so I'm Scott Riley, this is Joe Gorman. You and I have actually spoke before, correct?
Correct.
And you know that if you don't understand my question, you can ask me to rephrase. If you answer the question, I will assume that you have understood that question. Is that fair?
Yes.
On the break, we talked a little bit, you and I did, about your report of investigation, correct?
Yes.
And I showed you a copy of the report of investigation that I have in my hand today, correct?
Yes.
And I believe you agreed with me that this is a full and accurate copy of the only report of investigation that you authored in this investigation, correct?
Correct.
All right. You were directed out to the crime scene on April 18th of 2016 at the direction, I believe, of Sergeant Ross, correct?
Yes.
The actual detective in charge of the crime scene, I think, was Detective Scott Lickey. Does that sound right?
Sergeant Lickey.
Sergeant Lickey was in charge, but Sergeant Ross was directing you at that point in time, correct?
Correct.
And if I'm correct in my understanding, at the crime scene, you go out and essentially the detectives point to you what they want you to look at. Am I right about that?
We get a walkthrough.
Okay, so you do a walkthrough, you consult with the detectives on scene, and then you respond to what they ask for. Is that fair?
Correct.
All right. And your report investigation, I think you talked on your direct testimony, you indicated how you responded to the scene, that you met with Detective Ross, that you then went to 714 Fultz, spoke with Chester Williams, correct?
Correct.
And that you went about to download his security footage, correct?
Correct.
And you talked about the time discrepancies, correct?
Correct.
You transferred the video from the hard drive onto a USB, correct?
Correct.
So you made a copy of what was on the hard drive. You didn't take the hard drive, correct?
Correct.
And then back to the station, then you took that copy of the hard drive and you made another copy of that and put it onto the DVDs, correct?
Correct.
And those DVDs are now represented in State's Exhibit number 35 that you were shown previously, correct?
Correct.
So State's Exhibit 35 is a copy of the original, correct?
It's the original copy of the footage downloaded from that DVR.
The original footage is on the hard drive, correct?
Correct.
You made a copy of it to the flash drive, correct?
That's correct.
And then you made another copy of it onto the DVD, correct?
Correct.
And then the DVD, that's Exhibit 35, in addition to that, you made 3 more copies onto DVD, correct?
Probably 4
All right.
copies.
You said, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, right?
Okay.
You said, I tagged one set of DVRs into EFP, and I'm assuming EFP is your evidence room?
It was our evidence suppository, yes, we would call it that.
And then you put one set in the CSU file, the crime scene unit file, correct?
The physical file, yes.
And then you said you also made copies for Detective Tanisha Stewart, correct?
Yes.
Akron Fire Arson Investigator Ellis Polk, correct? And the State Arson Investigator, correct?
Correct.
And then below that you said Detective Dorsey, who was your partner at the time, correct?
Correct.
Took photos of the DVR system along with crime scene photos, correct?
Correct.
All right. You agree you did not make a copy or take the external or the internal hard drive of the DVR unit, correct?
Correct.
That wasn't Akron Police Crime Scene Unit's protocol at that point in time, correct?
That's correct.
Today, that is the protocol. It's a better way to secure the evidence is to actually secure the hard drive of the DVR, correct?
At some times, not all the time is that done.
Okay. But that wasn't done in this case by you, correct?
Correct.
In addition to the photos that Detective Dorsey took, am I fair in assuming that that is the complete job? That's everything that the crime scene unit conducted and did on April 18th, 2016.
I'm sorry, repeat what you said.
That's the sum and substance of what you did. You didn't do anything in addition to what we've already talked about. You took photos, you made a copy of the hard drive, and then you copied that copy onto other DVDs, correct?
Detective Dorsey also collected a DVR from the from 719.
From the house that had been on fire.
Correct.
Okay. That is the sum and substance of what the crime scene unit did, correct?
And I assisted with a canvas with Detective Stewart.
And you talked about that on your direct examination, but there's no paperwork whatsoever about you conducting a canvas, is there?
I would have thought she put it in her paperwork, but I'm not certain. I haven't read it.
And you would agree with me that in your paperwork, there's no mention of anything that you did at 7:30 Fultz, correct?
I believe you have a copy of my paperwork.
I do.
It's not on my paperwork, but I believe it is on Detective Dorsey's paperwork.
So I'm accurate when I say that there's nothing in your paperwork about 7:30 Fultz, correct?
Correct, because it's in Detective Dorsey's paperwork.
And 7:30 Fultz, so we all recall, is the pink house that is behind 1370 Hillcrest and across the street from 719 Fultz, correct?
Correct.
And you have testified in a prior proceeding, correct?
Correct.
And you remember we talked about 7:30 Fultz at that point in time, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember me asking you, as it relates to 7:30 Fultz, I say, when we talk about 7:30 Fultz, did you make any attempt to look at the DVR unit at 7:30 Fultz? And you answered no, correct?
Correct.
You remember that, right?
I do.
And then after that, I said, did you make any attempt to determine when those units were unplugged? And you said no, correct?
Correct.
And that is true, correct?
That's true.
And really quickly, Detective Hall, we talked about taking the whole hard drive, and you said on some occasions it's appropriate, it's better, right?
On some occasions, it's appropriate.
And it could give you a greater time frame upon which to look, see what was recorded, correct?
It would give you everything that was on the hard drive.
Not just the 1 hour that you were directed by Sergeant Ross to pull back, correct?
It would give you everything that's on the hard drive.
Not just that 1 hour that Sergeant Ross asked you to collect, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Interrupt.
Detective Hall, in your portion of the investigation, were you able to learn whether that DVR system at 730 volts was even functional?
It was unplugged, so
Okay.
it was not operating at the time.
So you don't know if it was working inside of the house or not, but it was
I don't.
unplugged at that point.
That's correct, I do not.
And you don't know when that was unplugged, one way or the other?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right, you may step down, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our testimony for today. Remember the admonition I've previously given you concerning your conduct. It's important for you to be fair and attentive throughout the trial. Do not discuss a case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. This includes your family, friends, and the media. You must not post or read anything about this case on the internet or any electronic device, including your cell phones. Any such discussion, if discovered, could lead to a mistrial and severely compromise the party's right to a fair trial. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence, and do not form or express an opinion until the case has finally been submitted to you. We will resume tomorrow morning with a full day of testimony, starting at 9 a.m. So we'll see you in the morning. Thank you. And look, it stopped raining and the sun's out.
All right, please.
Oh. Yes, that's it.
Alrighty.
I think we wanted to talk about Chester Williams.
Sure.